Here we go.
Okay.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's August the 12th, 2022. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day presented by Life Wallet, where the time is now to take charge of your personal health. And Matt, yesterday was a big day. We finally got the chance to see an entire practice, got to get a really good look at the 2022 Miami Hurricanes, how the team is coming together. So I thought we would take a little time this morning and discuss that. And obviously, we've got coverage of all that on the website today. We had some yesterday. We've got some more this morning, just giving you all of our perspectives on just exactly what we saw out there. And, truthfully, when you take Matt, myself, and then, you add Azubi Charles also to the equation, between the three of us, we're getting three different perspectives. I mean, we're not all seeing the exact same thing. We're not all looking at the exact same thing. So I think that's good for you guys because, you got to see some different perspectives coming out of practice. Matt posted on the message boards and stuff. I wrote a column that's on the website this morning. So hope you guys enjoyed all that. And Matt, all in all, I was encouraged, I think, by what I saw. The thing I really liked was that neither side of the ball was dominant all the time. And I think that's important. I mean, the offense had its moments. The defense had its moments. I was very impressed with the way the run defense looked. They really couldn't get much going in the running game. Now it's first day in pads. The offensive line. I don't know if you guys that are offensive line purists would be able to tell us better if they're at a little bit of a disadvantage because they haven't really worked on their timing and their blocking schemes and stuff at full speed with full contact. And I'm sure that'll continue to improve here over the next few weeks. But my point is that each side of the ball had its moments. And Matt, I felt that was a good thing. Your thoughts?
Well, I'll harken back to the good old days when I was a CaneSport intern in the late 90s. And then when I started full-time after moving back here from Baltimore in 2001, when this team was great, spring and fall practice was marked by the defense consistently dominating. I don't know if maybe it's the new era where with these new offenses, maybe the offense is supposed to be back and forth in the fall. I cover Miami. I haven't really looked at how Alabama and Ohio State and Clemson's fall football reports and spring football reports look. But personally, I prefer a really strong defense because you have Tyler Van Dyke. The run game, if it's not that good, if you have a great defense, you can find ways to win against really, really good teams. So personally, for me, I would disagree with you. Shocker, I know.
I'm dying to interrupt you right now, but I won't because I don't want. I've taken enough abuse this week, and I don't really.
I'm an old school guy. I prefer the defense dominate. Period. Especially when you already know you got pieces on the offense, and the defense is a question mark.
All right, let me ask you a question. What suggests to you that this is going to be a dominating defense?
It doesn't. But if you know Tyler Van Dyke is really
not there for it to be a dominating defense.
Right. But you asked me a different question. You said it's good they're going back and forth. I'm saying we know we have Tyler Van Dyke who's really good. The offensive line's a question mark. You have really good tight ends, really good receivers. If the defense is dominating, remember the days they had to take the defensive linemen out of practice? I don't agree that
they have really good receivers. They have okay receivers.
Okay, whatever. Do you remember the days they had to literally take Warren Sapp and say, Warren, you're done for the day because we can't run a play with you in there? That's what I want. Call me crazy. That's what I want. I want a defense where you can't run plays with those guys in there.
Yeah,
Don't shake your head at me. That's what I want. You can't take your head in a
What you want is irrelevant because it couldn't be more detached from reality right now.
But you said you're happy having go back and forth. I'm saying I'm not happy.
I'm happy that they each had their moments, that there's hope on both sides of the ball. That's what I'm talking about.
I don't want any hope on the offense. I want the offense to be terrible because the defense is that good. That's what I want.
Okay,
I want a very depressed offense.
That's not reality in 2022.
I know.
Okay, that's just not. Okay, so let's stay in reality. Let's talk a little bit about what we saw. And my column this morning, I touch on every position. There's some that we were able to evaluate a little better than others. I mean, when they were doing 11 on 11, we were kind of far away from the action. It was difficult to really hone in on the line of scrimmage.
What are you talking about? Look what I bring to practice, Gary. This is what I bring to practice. You don't bring these. These are important.
I understand, but
They're called. I think you
but
called
they
them
don't
back
have instant replay, and you're talking about pileups. Like
when you were young. You called these the thing that makes you see far away. That's what you called them. They're called binoculars now. They gave it a name.
listen,
You should invest in a
I'm
pair.
ti- I'm I'm really tired this morning. I didn't sleep well last night. I don't have patience for this. I'm trying to talk about the team. Okay, I'm not trying to talk about your binoculars.
I saw what was
I'm
far
not
away
trying
from
to
you.
live
You said it was.
in a fantasy world where Warren Sapp is playing on the defensive line. He's not. Okay, Jacob Lichtenstein is. Okay, Akeem
Oh,
Messi
now the Liechtenstein haters are coming for you,
Messidor
bro.
is.
The
Leonard
Liechtenstein
Taylor
haters
is.
are coming for you.
There's no Warren Sapp out there. I have to believe you and I can agree on that. All right. So anyway, so my column this morning, I go position by position. We try to touch on it. There's some spots that it was really difficult to throw, to get too crazy with names, and I didn't want to, blow smoke up anybody's butts. So I kept it real in the comments. But anyway, obviously the skill positions we were able to evaluate really, really, really well. And Tyler Van Dyke, you guys know he's elite. We don't have to keep telling you he's elite. He's elite. He kind of struggled on a few throws yesterday that were very uncharacteristic of him. He threw the ball into danger, I'd say 3 or 4 times during the course of the day. And this is a guy that just doesn't throw a lot of interceptions. So what that told me, Matt, is he's still learning the offense. He's still feeling his way through his progressions on certain play calls and things like that. Tyler Van Dyke, as good as he is probably not season ready, or certainly not Texas A&M ready today. But he doesn't have to be.
I mean, I don't want to keep disagreeing with everything you say, but Tyler Van Dyke's a guy to me who seems like he's better in games than in practice. I always tell people this, and there's guys who look great in practice, whoever whatever the one that wasn't in the NFL. Who was that?
Kendall Tompkins?
Kendall? Anyway, I think it was from Northwestern. But greatest practice player you've ever seen in your life, you put him on a field during a game and you say, who took over Kendall's body? I mean, did the aliens beam him up last night and probe him and take out all of his football knowledge? But greatest practice player of all time. And Tyler Van Dyke's the opposite. You see, if you remember, some of those plays he made last year were astounding. Just the wherewithal to almost instinctively know where pressure was coming from without even seeing it. Just to instinctively know where a receiver is going to be without barely even glancing up with pressure coming down on him. The throws he made from different angles. In practice, it's different. He knows he's not getting hit. He knows basically the defense was running. What we saw, practice defense was running very vanilla. He knew there weren't stunts and crazy things coming at him. It was just base defense. So he sort of already knew how this defense plays. And the few times that they actually ran something different, he probably just wasn't really thinking. But in a game, he's a different player, man. That doesn't bother me. I said on the message board, he's in midseason form. I believe that. He made throws.
I don't agree with you.
He made a throw to Keyshawn Smith that I don't think 99 out of 100 college quarterbacks can make right now. In the middle of the season.
He makes NFL throws on a regular basis.
So just because he forced a couple of balls into a coverage when they actually mixed something up for a change when he was
that's called losing in the regular season when you're playing Texas A&M and Clemson. Like, he's going to get better. I'm not even worried about it. Like, all that told me was he's just not comfortable with the whole offense yet. He's still.
Listen, I'm not worried about Tyler Van Dyke. Whether you want to call him midseason form or not, I don't care because he's fine. What I was impressed with Jake Garcia, I didn't think Jake Garcia was that far behind Tyler Van Dyke. The ball placement, not as good.
I've been saying that for a year. Everybody starts jumping up my butt about that too. Like, Jake is not that far. He's behind. Listen, Tyler.
Well, Jake didn't look that good in the spring. He looks different this fall. And I think in the spring, in fairness, his ankle was still an issue. He wasn't planting correctly. He had some mechanical flaws. He looks like a different guy this fall. And if, God forbid, something happens to Tyler, I think the offense will still function really, really well with Jake, which is great because that's honestly more important than Tyler Van Dyke looking good right now because we know Tyler Van Dyke is going to be Tyler Van Dyke. He was a backup to start last year. He's had all that experience to rely on now. He's had a whole offseason, and this is a guy who everyone keeps telling me, you can't get him out of the playbook. You can't get him out of the film room. If somebody says, hey, the whole team's going to dinner, he'll say, I'm still studying install number 4. I mean, this is a guy who gives his all.
He really does.
Every single second of the day. This is what's fun for him. For some people, it's fun going bowling. For some people, it's fun going fishing. For him, it's fun to study football.
He's a football junkie, no
it's
doubt about it.
unbelievable.
Loves
And
it.
he's had a whole extra year to do it with the physical experience of being on the field against every coastal AC defense and a couple that were in the Atlantic.
Yeah, they were neck and neck a year ago. You couldn't really differentiate between the two of them. They were backing up the Eric King. And I made the comment then, and I still feel that way now, that if you had taken a poll of everybody in the organization at that time and said who was going,
let's not say who was in the organization then, right, Gary? You don't want to go there.
No, who cares?
Those guys?
That doesn't matter. You could take a poll of everybody, include the water boys and girls, whatever. Everybody. Okay, everybody. I take a poll of everybody who has anything to do with Miami football a year ago, and I think probably by a 3-1 margin, if you were asking people who's going to be the future quarterback at Miami, they would have said Jake Garcia. And the reason was physically they both were about identical, but Jake had all the charisma. Jake had all the apparent leadership skills. Jake had all these intangibles that would have inspired people to vote for him. There's no doubt in my mind about it. Now, they both played in that game against Central Connecticut, I think it was, and Jake gets hurt. Tyler gets the ball for the rest of the season and took it and ran with it, developed at rapid fire pace, had an amazing second half of the season, and now he's Tyler Van Dimes, the NIL wizard, making hundreds of thousands of dollars, the poster boy for Miami football. Hey, that's how it works sometimes, okay? But it doesn't mean Jake Garcia is that much worse, and I don't think he is. I think the benefit of those 6 games of experience certainly helped Tyler Van Dyke get better, and he is better than Jake. There's no doubt about it. But there's a hope for the future with Jake Garcia, and that'll transition me into our number 3 quarterback, Ja'Cory Brown. And we've spoken so much about him, I don't want to get off on a tangent on that one for very long. But for whatever reason, and maybe it was all the conversation about how bad he was looking in practice or whatever, he was a different kid yesterday, Matt. He came out, he looked way more focused to me. He looked like he was concentrating much harder on every throw. He wasn't being loose. Now, he was taking a little mustard off the ball, let's be honest. Like, there were a lot of floaters that he was throwing out there to make sure they got from what I call point A to point B. But that was a way better outcome than balls sailing 20 yards over the heads of receivers, than he wasn't missing the passing net that they use to work on accuracy. He had his good moments and his bad moments when things got live, obviously, like they all did. But I think you and I agree, and then we'll move on, that Ja'Cory Brown was a whole different dude Thursday than he was Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
People are going to think I'm crazy, but I honestly think Ja'Cory heard about what you said.
He probably did. There were too many people going crazy on Twitter, and it wasn't our doing. It's guys that just took it and ran with it, and they use it as an excuse to start attacking me, and they turn it into a total circus on Twitter.
But, I think you actually helped him in a sense. I think Ja'Cory really was pressing, because when we were first out there, those first few fall practices, his advantage over the other quarterbacks on this roster is his athletic ability and his pure arm strength. I mean, he just fires the ball. I mean, it's a bullet, man. And when we watched him those first few practices, I think he was overthrowing, trying to throw really hard, and not just sort of relaxing. And I think you distracted him to the point, Gary. You know how some people, when they have to give some people when they have to give a public speech, there's actually been polls. This is a real thing. You can look it up, but there's been polls out there, and fear of public speaking is the number one fear of a lot of people. And the number 2 fear in a lot of these polls is death. People are actually more frightened of public speaking than of dying. And it's when you're public speaking, right? Some people, you can chew gum, you can have a tic tac in your mouth, something to distract you, something you're not focused on the task at hand, which is scaring you to death or whatever the case is, and you just relax a little bit. And I'm not saying Jakari had a tic tac or gum in his mouth, but I think you distracted him. I think you focused him on, you know what? I'm just going to go out there, play, and have fun. I'm not going to try to do too much and try to impress everyone with how hard I'm throwing it compared to everybody else. And I'm the greatest quarterback, to get a leg up on Jake for next year. Whatever the
That
heck
might
he
have
was
been
over
it.
his
You
head.
might be onto something there, Matt. He
I don't
might
know.
have.
But listen,
Maybe he's trying to do too much.
I play a psychologist on Good Morning CaneSport. So, if anybody wants to pay me the 5 cents for Peppermint Patty, that's not who does psychology for Charlie Brown, but whoever that person is, I'll open up my stand for 5 cents and I'll give free advice to anybody.
No, you honestly might be onto something there. Maybe
I highly doubt it, but I think that
no. Put yourself in that kid's shoes, okay? He's behind Tyler Van Dyke. He's behind Jake. He knows who they've recruited. He knows they got Jaden Rashada coming in with a big NIL deal. He knows they got Emory Williams coming in, another Elite 11 quarterback if he sticks and doesn't get cold feet, which looks like it could go either way right now. He knows there's other bodies coming in to compete, and he knows he's number 3, and he knows that if Jake Garcia becomes the quarterback in the spring, that Jake's going to probably have 2 years. I mean, I don't think we're going to sit here and say that Jake's going to be one and done to the NFL. So, Jake's going to probably have 2 years if he wins the job. So you're looking at 3 years down the road before you get a shot to play at all if you're Jakari Brown. And, he understandably, maybe he was trying to do too much, but he did not look really good. And no, we were not off base. I was not off base. Matt totally agreed with me. We were saying the same thing. We're not off base by saying he's really struggling out there. He was. And conversely, the reason I brought up the receiver thing was because they need more bodies at receiver that can make plays. And I see a kid that is extremely athletic. Okay. And it has nothing to do with anything other than that. And, those guys that are trying to add extra elements to this conversation are flat wrong. And I wish you guys would check yourselves and just stop. Okay. The kid is athletic as heck. All you got to do is watch his high school tape. And I'm just sitting here looking at this situation at receiver. And I'm thinking, man, where can they find another 1 or 2 playmakers? And I'm looking at the DBs. Chris Grave was one of them I was looking at. And I'm trying to think, where can they find another receiver that can make plays? They really need another receiver that can make plays. And I'm thinking, what if he can do it? Who the heck knows? He's never played receiver. So I'm thinking, man, it would be cool to see him get reps. That's it. There's not more to it. Don't add more to it. But he looked a lot better yesterday at quarterback. And I think that Matt and I are in agreement that we are very encouraged by the level of the quarterback room right now. And it's in a decent spot. And we'll see where it goes from here. And wherever it is, that's what we'll report to you. All right, Matt, I didn't think we could evaluate the running backs very much.
They had no room to work with whatsoever.
They had nothing to work with at all. I didn't go real. Yeah.
What's exciting though is the way we can't go too into depth with it, but these are backs that everybody knows. It's a multiple offense, and the running backs are going to be receivers also. And the way they use them in that regard, that's encouraging because they'll be open a lot as checkdowns. And if the offensive line falters, you need that, And I really liked how they're using the running backs. Not impressed at all with the offensive line run blocking from first team through third team whatsoever. There was only one hole that was really good opened out of probably 30 or 40 running plays. I mean, if there were stats kept for that, like that, it was an actual game and they were tackling to the ground, it probably would have wound up with 30 to 40 rushes for 20 yards. That's not a joke.
It's not a joke. But it was day one in full pads.
Yeah.
So
and that's what I like to see. I want the defense to be really good at something. And if they're really good at stopping the run, I mean, that's great. Like this is not bad news. You're asking about the running backs. The converse side is the defensive line and the linebackers, the front seven, man, were swarming to the ball, and the offense could not move the ball on the ground other than the very first play where somehow it was a hole big enough for Gary Ferman to gain 10 yards out of. So other than that, it was great.
All right, that's the second time you've used that line. Congratulations.
I used it on the message board yesterday.
I saw it on the message board. I saw it. Congratulations.
Right, you know what?
Great
now you only gained 5 yards because of that. All right. You keep talking, you're going to gain 1 yard out of that hole. All right.
Great line. Great line. I think Jalen Knighton's going to have a big year, and we'll leave it at that. He looks to me like he's going to be a great weapon, go both ways in the running game and the passing game. All right. Tight ends pretty much as expected. I was extremely impressed with Elijah Arroyo. You can continue to see the progress that he's making. We know Mallory's good. Mallory, he's so steady. He's going to be fine. Elijah Arroyo had one pass play, one-on-one against Devontae Williams. And I know, Devontae struggles in man coverage. No argument. Like, that's his Achilles heel, and probably is going to allow Cam Kinchins to beat him out to be a starter. I mean, he'll play plenty in different packages and stuff, but Devontae does struggle in single coverage, and Arroyo put a move on him and just left him flat-footed and caught the ball in the open field, and I was just really impressed by that, Matt. And I think they got a good 1-2 punch with Mallory and Arroyo. The one thing that I was surprised about it at tight end was I didn't think Julius Skinner looks real comfortable. I think he's still feeling his way out there.
Arroyo also had a nice sort of an overthrown ball. He had reached out, grabbed it with one hand, secured it with the second early in practice. He's super athletic. He's going to be really, really good. I laughed because you've been touting him forever, and I think it's true.
I like him.
You're actually right about something, so I laughed.
Every now and then, man.
The surprise to me at tight end, yeah, Jaleel was a little bit of a surprise, but I think I posted, I've been hearing he's been dropping a lot of passes. He dropped another one yesterday.
He's swimming. He looks like he's swimming. He just
he hasn't, like, he had Cam Kinchins on him in one of the one-on-ones and just couldn't even get an inch on Cam, and Cam just whiffed on what should have been an easy pass breakup. But aside from that, that's not great. But he's a freshman. You can sort of say, okay, it's a freshman. He's got a lot of room to go, and he's going to be great. It's just a matter of time. But the surprise to me was, you wrote off Khalil Brantley, but they put Khalil Brantley in an H-back role. He was getting some reps with Tyler Van Dyke. They were moving him around. I think they see him as a guy who can maybe be a decent blocker, whereas Jaleel can't. And we've talked about this. Will Mallory will block because he knows he has to. Elijah Arroyo will block because he likes to, and Jaleel Skinner will not block. Well, you can't have just a couple of tight ends that you think can help you on a line that apparently isn't real good at run blocking from what we saw. And if Khalil Brantley, who has a very strong lower body, if he can move some guys, man, he'll get some reps. He'll work his way into that. And you saw in the spring game, he had 6 or 7 catches. They have these plays for him, just little short routes where he just grab the ball and get 5 or 6 yards every time. There's no reason why Khalil Brantley can't have a role, despite what Gary Ferman said 2 days ago. Okay, and you saw it. Yeah, don't shake your head because you saw it yesterday. They're using him, and he's not sitting on the sideline.
He's the number 4. He's the number 4 guy. When the game
say number 4, but I'd say number 3, along with Jaleel. Like, they're interchangeable, but at different, moving around.
By the time you get to Texas A&M, I think Jaleel is going to be a different player. I hope
that's the question. Is
he should be?
Will Jaleel block? Can Jaleel block? He's such a long strider. He didn't get open at all on Cam Kinchins. He may struggle early on in the college game while he feels his way. And I'm not sure in game 3 that he's going to be that guy that you want to throw out there and rely on.
No, I don't think. I don't think they will use him a lot. I don't think they're going to use.
Guess what?
I don't think they'll use Brantley a lot either. I think they'll use Mallory and Arroyo.
A week ago, if you asked me, I would have said Jaleel Skinner was going to lead the tight end room in receiving yards. And I may have even said that on this show. And I'll admit when I was wrong. I don't think that's going to be the case anymore. I
don't see him. My opinion changed too. Yeah, I mean,
I see his reps decreasing. Khalil's literally taking his reps now. Sometimes coaches are literally seeing who's at number 3 tight end, and apparently they're not sure it's Jaleel anymore. So that's concerning because I thought Jaleel was going to be a star. I thought these tight ends, especially Jaleel, was going to be able to take pressure off the receiver room that we were sort of concerned about. The good news is I'm not as concerned about the receiver room anymore after yesterday. I thought they looked great, regardless of what you said about the defensive backs doing better on them in 11-on-11. I was watching through binoculars, and they were still getting open, Gary. You could look with your 20/80 eyesight and say, I can't see anything, okay?
Other than Restrepo and Keyshawn Smith, they weren't all consistently getting open.
Listen, they dropped balls. They dropped 3 touchdowns on the other side of the field, okay? They were open. They just got to catch the ball.
They were open some of the time.
No problem. They'll catch the ball.
In the one-on-ones, they were open almost all the time. They were killing the DBs in one-on-ones.
Killing them. Yeah, it was shocking.
It was shocking.
Yeah.
Like in the one-on-one drills, they were just destroying the defensive backs.
Very different. Very different.
And I'm like looking at are these the Miami receivers we're watching? Like
we saw it in the spring and it was totally different. The same exact drill in the spring was 100% different.
I agree. And that was the best I have seen the receiver group as a whole look in in a year. Like, I mean, obviously when Rambo and Harley were there, it had a different look, but like we're sitting there all through the spring and like shaking our heads like, wow, man, there's problems at receiver and talking about it all off season. And I keep hearing that, and
I wasn't worried until you kept on harping on me, and then I talked to some people at UM that were a little worried. Then I got worried.
They're still
My
worried.
initial instinct's always right. I
Nobody,
said,
no, man, nobody thinks this is a solved problem. Okay,
it's a solved problem. Matt
it's
Shodell
not
said
a solved problem.
If I said it's solved, it's solved. That's the definition of a solved problem.
Your best receiver is Xavier Restrepo. Okay, and he is so good and so consistent, but he is a possession receiver. They're trying to use him on the outside some, get him out down the field on some plays and things like that, and he's doing okay. But there's nobody game planning for Xavier Restrepo. They're just not. And Keyshawn Smith looks a little more explosive and powerful to me. He is making forward progress. He looks like he's ready to have a decent year. But once you get past those two, it's hit or miss play by play. Sometimes Jacoby George makes a play, sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes Colby makes a play, sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes Michael Redding makes a play, sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes Brashard Smith makes a play, sometimes he doesn't. None of these guys are game-changing players, okay? And there will be times when they're in tight games this year where they need somebody to change the game, Matt.
I respectfully disagree. I would argue as a group, they are a game-changing unit. I would expect as a group, they will get the job done. You mentioned just names like they're nobodies. I mean, Brashard Smith could start in the slot for, I think, almost every ACC team right now. He's a backup, but like they can move him if they needed to, and put him in different positions to get the ball, whether he's running jet sweeps like last year or, maybe they put two slot guys in. They could do any number of things. And then the other thing is you just gloss over Mike Redding. He was a highly touted recruit who has just been injury riddled. He looked really, really good. And he was working with the ones.
Just doesn't have top end speed.
Like he's a nobody. You don't know yet what he has. I mean, we haven't heard of him, but guess what?
Top end speed. Neither is Latson. They're just all guys.
We'll see. We'll see.
They're guys.
They're
gonna have good moments and bad moments depending on the competition.
Listen, I thought they looked plenty fast. Okay, 40 times are not what you gauge a player on all the time. That's straight ahead speed. The receivers were shake and bake fast. They were in and out of their breaks. They left those. They would shake their shimmy and like a defender would fall down. Like they're quick, fast out of their breaks. Their timing is already down with the quarterbacks. Like I thought they looked great. I don't understand why you're so concerned still. I was so encouraged by the receivers.
I'm only concerned because I know there's going to be some games where they need a big play down the field. And I think it's going to be very hard to get the big play down the field.
Well, if that happens in a spring game, but we'll see.
And at that point, now you're losing a couple close games. Because
if that's true, then yeah, that's a big problem.
That's my concern.
I'm always the optimist, Gary. You know me.
Wait, I'm the optimist. You're the negative Nancy.
Yeah. So what's
but
wrong
I
with you?
also am not unable to keep it real.
Why am I the one who's saying the receivers are going to be fine and you're not? There's a disconnect here of some major proportion.
I think they're going to be okay. I think they're going to be okay.
Star Trek episode where they're
okay. But would you agree there's no Rambo out there?
Rambo is not out there, Gary. That is correct.
No, but there's no Rambo level player out there, is there?
When Rambo was here last fall, we didn't think there was a Rambo level player out there.
I'm talking about the way he performed during the season.
I think Keyshawn Smith has the potential to put up Rambo-like numbers with Tyler Van Dyke at quarterback.
All right, we'll see. I hope you're right. I agree. He looks like he's moving forward, so I agree. I'll
now you agree?
No, I agree. He has I agree. He has a chance. Yes. But other than he and Restrepo,
I got to get my breakfast.
Are you telling me Michael Redding is going to put up Rambo-like numbers?
I don't know. We have to see
school record receiving numbers.
How do I know that off one practice? We just literally saw him for the first time back healthy.
That's my point. So why are you so bullish?
Because the receivers.
You're supporting my point.
Okay. Do you? I mean, I got to have breakfast.
Rambo put up as good a numbers as ever been put up by anybody at Miami last year.
The reason I think the receivers will be fine, if you let me speak for 2 seconds, I think the strength of the defense is
1-2. Rambo put up numbers last year that were as good as any receiver that ever played at Miami?
Yeah. I'm trying to answer your question.
Go ahead. 3, 4. Go ahead.
So I think the defensive backs are the strength of the defense, personally. I know we rated the defensive line a little ahead of them. I really honestly think that the defensive backs are the strength. And when you, if you fans were out there watching what this receiver corps did to the strength of the Miami defense, which is it should be a better than average Miami defense in general, a better than average ACC defense in general. And the DB unit, I think, should be one of the best in the ACC, maybe third or fourth best, somewhere in there is what I personally think. So, you asked me, can one person put up Rambo-like numbers? I already answered that. I said, as a group, they're going to be just as good. Like, I don't need Rambo to catch every ball. Like, Tyler Van Dyke would just throw to Rambo, throw to Rambo, throw to Rambo. I have no problem with him spreading the ball around and having 4 or 5 guys that combine and put up bigger numbers than Rambo, okay? They're all better than Rambo. The numbers are better than Rambo, okay? Now you happy?
If you put them all together is what you're hoping.
If you put together the receiving numbers of Mike Harley and all these guys from last year, it really was those 2 receivers had 70% of the receiving yards for the receivers. Yeah. I'm saying this receivers group could have more total receiving yards as a receiving unit than last year, even with God, whatever you call it. Oh, Charleston Rambo, that's who you call God, right? Yeah, even with Charleston Rambo.
No, but my point is this.
Could have more
Rambo
yards.
Wasn't God. That's my point. I was getting to that.
He broke every record. He
did, and he didn't get drafted, right?
No, this is another conversation. It doesn't matter if they get drafted. You can be you can be the greatest NFL player in history. Okay, at Miami, put up 2,000 yards. It doesn't make you a first-round NFL draft pick. Like, that's just not how it works, or even draftable. That's not how it works. They're 2 different things. NFL teams aren't looking for production numbers. NFL teams are looking at height, weight, how high can you jump, what's your strength, how do you project, what's your mental status? Are you going to fold at the first sign of problems? Are you going to fold when Gary Ferman starts saying that you should move to receiver instead of playing quarterback? And that's what the NFL looks like. It looks at, in college, it's a totally different game, man. You could be 5'10" and 170 pounds, and you can succeed with 4.5 speed, for that matter. There's guys at Wake Forest that do that at receiver. Okay, so don't talk about the NFL. We're talking about college football here. It's a totally different game, other than free agency, which obviously college football has a much better free agency program than the NFL.
All right. So anyway, we gave you a little sampling there. We go through all the positions. There's tons of coverage.
Oh, thank God. I thought you were going to go through every single position. We're going to be here for an hour and a half.
No. But there's tons of coverage on the website of all this, and you guys can sink your teeth into it. I hope you walk away with a little better feel of how the teams look in 1 week into fall camp.
By the way, there is one thing I want to add before you sign off, whatever you're about to do. All right?
Yeah.
I can't say... Okay, so I'm looking through my binoculars, and I'm looking at the far side of the field. And, when you're looking at binoculars, you have a very small window of vision, right? I swear, when I was looking, Aaron Feld would just run in front of my binoculars and run. It was like boom, boom, like
he was all over the damn place.
I have never seen a strength coach not only attend every second of practice, but he's yelling at Xavier Restrepo, that's how you use your technique. I think Aaron Feld honestly believes that he coaches every position himself and that he's running the whole program.
He does. He works with everybody.
He's literally running up to every player and giving them, telling them what they're doing wrong and giving them words of advice. And it's almost like he's a fan / strength coach / head coach / athletic director.
He's up and down the sideline.
And he's constantly moving. I've never in my life. It's like it's like one of those horror movies where somebody's back is turned and you're watching the video, you're watching the movie and you go and you see a figure go whoosh. That's what it looked like through my binoculars, and then it looked like this with the binoculars off, and it's just Aaron Feld running around running back and forth, yelling at people. It was crazy, man. That dude's I don't know if I like him or just think he's crazy. I do like him. I just think he's nuts.
He is
pure nuts. Insanity.
All right, we got a few more stories to talk about, but first, let's hear from our friends at Life Wallet.
How you doing? Are you feeling all right?
Hey, you sure you good?
Hey man, how you feeling?
I feel really dizzy.
Do you have a life wallet?
I do have Life Wallet.
Program activated.
Hey, George, you all right?
Actually, I'm great because I have my Life Wallet.
All right.
I mean, you know what? I can fake a heart attack right now. Will I get paid by John Ruiz? Like, I don't understand. Is that all you have to do to get some money out of Ruiz?
But you got to admit that these are creative ways they're coming of using all these athletes. It's pretty cool. All right. I mean,
I don't know what the line is for
nobody in the country coming close to this, Matt. Okay, I know you kind of, you know somebody that had a heart attack. It touches a nerve on that commercial, but there's nobody in the country that's doing anything even remotely close to what they're doing here with NIL and Life Wallet.
Oh yeah, the NIL is great. Listen, the NIL for the players is fantastic. There's
fantastic.
No argument for me whatsoever. Listen, the choice of content for some of the ads, I find it a little bit questionable. But who am I to question a trillionaire? Apparently.
Well, I mean, there's nobody even coming close to doing anything creative like this. So I applaud them top to bottom. All right. My other stories on the website this morning. We talked to Corey Couch, who's working hard to reach his potential. And you're going to see him work at some different spots in Kevin Steele's defense. So we have a story on that. We have a story on Wayne Minsteed, who was really fired up. And he had a pretty good practice yesterday, by the way. And I touch on that in my column. He was fired up at just the way he played and the way the defense played in that practice. And we've got a story on him. We speak to Frank Ladson, who does a little comparison between Trevor Lawrence and Tyler Van Dyke, and talks about some other things. We also talk to Keyshawn Smith, who talks about how much he likes Josh Gaddis's playbook, and he also talks a little bit about Michael Redding and some other topics. So all that is on the website this morning as well. And we'll have a couple recruiting stories also for you guys to sink your teeth into. So the usual array of content is available to you guys on the CaneSport.com website this morning. All right, so today, I think today's practice is going to be light. They're going to be getting ready for the scrimmage tomorrow. It's going to be a big scrimmage for them just to see where they're at. Kind of fast, considering they've just had one hard day of full contact, Matt, to go out into a scrimmage situation. But they probably figure, what the heck, we'll let it roll, see where we're at.
I mean, I love it. They usually don't do this in the past, and anything that's different from the past, I'm all for it. Anything that they're doing different from the last 15 years, I'm like, let's try that. Why not? What harm can it do? Like, let's do something new. Let's see if it works.
Yeah, so they'll scrimmage on Saturday. We'll do our best to have whatever coverage we can provide of that. Obviously, it's closed. They don't let anybody watch it. We'll get some sound from Mario Cristobal talking about the scrimmage afterwards. We'll work our sources and see what we can find out about what took place out there, and we'll pull it all together for you guys over the weekend. So for Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. We thank you so much for starting your day out with us again, and guess we'll say have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time, everybody.